Welcome to another episode of the Philosophy of Chillin. I'm your host, Dylan the Connect, and today is going to be an interesting conversation. I thought about this platform maybe back in 2019, 2020. And I took time to do research on different topics, different ideologies, and essentially I was trying to gather different topics that could be discussed. So when I was trying to think of what I was going to talk about today, I was reverting back to some of those ideas and trying to look through something that would be good. And it was a lot of good things in there, like conversations that I have more questions about. And hey, I wouldn't mind talking about it now. Maybe it might not be the right time, but when I sat down to meditate, I got a word that kept coming to my head, and I was like, well, why do I need to make an episode on this? Yes, everyone does experience these emotions and they go through these things, and everyone can really relate to it. It just depends on what they experience as far as where they generated the feelings from. But it wouldn't leave my mind, and I was like, okay, well, I'll talk about it if it's what needs to be talked about. And today I wanted to discuss how to get through the feeling of embarrassment utilizing the philosophy of chilling. And it's interesting to say the least because a lot of people can think different things. And when you really look at the core of the situation, at least what I had to examine for myself, especially having been a person who has experienced many embarrassing, what people would consider to be embarrassing moments. And honestly, I can understand where people are coming from and the facts that, are felt when it comes to something happening even to the smallest degree of just, the moment when you trip up the stairs or you miss a stair, you just like, dang, did anybody see me? And of course someone did, like, come on now. But there's layers to that where it's like, in that what could be deemed as embarrassing, even with the emotions that you feel, it can cause a variety of things that may not be healthy for you, externally and especially internally. But in regards to how to get through those moments and those episodes, I really had to just ask myself, what are the elements that I consider to be true as I try to get through the things that I've experienced on my own? And for one, I had to look back at, well, how can you acknowledge when you feel some form of embarrassment or when it is recognized to you that this is an embarrassing moment or a feeling of embarrassment. And when I looked at it, I was like, okay, well, it goes two different ways. If I feel like I messed up somewhere or I did something that I don't normally do in my daily life, my body's response is to get like, hot ears or, more like a frustration with myself, and I have to work on that. But it's just like, dang, you don't usually do this. And now maybe that's when that feeling that can be recognized as embarrassment starts to trigger, and it's like, well, dang, man, it's not really like you. Like, why would this happen right now? Like, that's interesting. And on the other side, it's when other people I've been around where they'll vocalize, oh, this might be embarrassing, or they might indicate what is deemed to be an embarrassing moment. And then I'll listen to what they have to say, and I'll be like, oh, okay. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. So, I mean, I wouldn't say you're wrong per se, but sometimes I don't always vocalize what my true perspective is. And when I look at that, those two attachments of reasons why, one was correlated to the perspective of others, and the other was connected to the expectations that I hold myself to. And when I feel like either or are getting fed into, that's what I recognize embarrassment to be true as. And for me, what I tend to lean more so into is the understanding of just how to dissect the situation. Because essentially, when I look at the root causes and the reactions or actions that can stem from a feeling of embarrassment, because it really varies depending on the person, but analyzing it for myself, it was like, okay, well, in the situations where it's my own expectations, who am I truly fighting against? Well, who am I feeling embarrassed? Where is that generating from? And if it's coming from, okay, a lack of meeting my own expectations, well, would myself consider it to be embarrassing? Like, who's registering that fact to be true? Because what my body knows to be true is that shit happens. And as I've grown, I've understood that my body responds to its environment. And it doesn't matter who I'm around, it has its own unique response to it. So of course, as always, what you ingest and everything like that. So if I'm in a state that my body does not recognize, or around energies that do not match my frequency, or, bring me to a lower state, man, I'll, I'll knock out. It don't matter. Like, I've even been in parties fully packed. But if I'm bored, if I'm not doing nothing, my body will go to sleep. Like, I'll be fine. And typically if people sleep, it's about the liquor and stuff like that. And that is very true. Please be careful. You know what I'm saying? Drive safely and don't drive under the influence. I'm just saying. But when people typically knock out and things of that sort, you got to get them up and things like that. And if I'm not moving, and if I'm not stimulated or entertained, my body will just be like, okay, well, just let us know. Just let us know when you need us. We'll be over here. You know what I'm saying? And there can be many moments where people are like, dang, bro, like, she sleep. Like, that's a little embarrassing. Like, how many did she drink? And it's like, I'm really good. Like, I promise you. Like, my body just responds and I allow it to and I listen to it because of that. Like, me, I can't drink white liquor. No way. Jose, you feel me? Like, I can't, it can't be me. I can drink a little bit of reposado and we cool with it. But if it's not dark, I can't groove with it. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, I had to learn, even as my body responds, I pay attention to the state that they're in, the level that it's in, to make sure that I can still be coherent. And that's what you have to do if you're feeling forms of embarrassment. Like, if I'm recognizing it from my self-expectations, well, okay, how can I show myself grace when those moments come and I don't uphold the standard that I exact on myself, or that I try to uphold internally? And then when it happens, how do I also hold myself accountable to make sure that, okay, this happens, we're showing you grace, but let's try to make steps to make sure this doesn't happen again. And let's be honest about it. Because essentially what happens subconsciously for me, that mind state of solution, identification, and execution, it drives itself. Because even when I'm asleep, like that is the mindset that it's cycling into what I am meditating on in that state. And when I wake up and am more conscious, like, of course, my emotions and personalities will override, but that fine line is trying to balance me as well. So if I can identify, okay, this form of embarrassment is coming from my self-expectation, well, I also need to identify the fact that we are human. Like, yo, it's only so many ways this thing can go. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I have to tell you? Like, shit happens. But even then, like, it's not a defining moment. It just happened. Like, it is what it is. Let's keep going. Because you still have to keep moving. Unless you're just going to stop what you're doing. And even in regards to that, come on, like, in what ways are you still living to where you're not upholding the vision of yourself while you're on this earth? You feel me? Because once you attach yourself too much to that temporary emotion, it can really be overriding to the actions that you execute within your daily life. And it can really play on your mental health and how you carry day to day emotionally. So, and that can hurt your spirit as well. But anyway, identifying that, I had to recognize, okay, that is to be true. Cool. The other half of it, going to people's perspectives of a situation, I can always laugh about it, bro. Because at the end of the day, like, nah, in the moment, this shit is crazy. This shit crazy. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, out of all the days, out of all the times, out of all the places, like, this is what's taking place right now. Like, this is what's happening in this current moment. Are you kidding me? But after that instance, after that temporariness has honestly dissolved itself in time, bro, I'm laughing about it just as much as you, because the facts are still true. You bring it up and it's like the series of events. I can't explain it to you. I'm trying to collect memories myself, and I was right there with you. Like, so even in that regard, like, once I was able to acknowledge that, because sometimes people's words can hurt. I probably have hurt so many people it makes no sense. Whether I know about it, don't know about it, what have you. But the fact that I've been on either side of the spectrum, it's an indicator that sometimes you don't always know where it's, one, coming from, and two, how you deal with it and how you receive it. Because at the end of the day, people will always have something to say. And you can't control that. That's not on you. But what you can control is you, and how you respond to it and how you allow it to trigger you, especially if you can identify when it is a trigger to you. So, in trying to get through the emotions of embarrassment, okay, how much do I care about somebody else's perspective? These are questions that not only do I have to ask myself, but I have to really address, because if I'm serious about trying to grow through this and making sure that my response is coming from a leveled space where I'm not allowing a situation to overstimulate and heighten a specific feeling or personality type, then I'm always up for the moment, and whoever steps on the trigger, and I don't want that to happen. Like, I don't want that to happen, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So if I'm serious about this, then I have to ask myself this question, because if people have a certain level of influence over me and what I recognize or respect out of them, if I'm not able to identify, it's going to be secretly a detriment to me. So in order for me to make sure that I'm trying to have a level head, I have to be aware of not just myself, but also my surroundings, and be able to take that in without allowing it to not necessarily affect me, because I'm human too and I feel these emotions, but not allow it to make me move too soon. And that's the whole principle of what I try to do with the philosophy of chilling, because it's the only way I can recognize forward growth to be happening within my life. Because if I wanted to utilize all of my raw energy into every instance and every space that I've been blessed to be in, well, I'm allowing other people to define me outside of myself. And one thing that I am grateful for is the fact that I have been able to define who I am as a person based on the situations that I've been blessed to be in and how I respond to them. And I want to continue to make sure that if someone knows anything to be true, at least I can recognize it too. You know what I'm saying? And that is essentially the movements that well, not the movements, but the mentality that influences my movements in trying to get through not just phases and feelings of embarrassment, but a lot of other things as well that I could dive into. But I really would be here all day. But at the end of the day, I feel like taking those steps of asking those questions transparently and really holding myself to the accountability of making sure I'm identifying what's triggering me, then I can take those steps and be like, okay, look, I'm showing up the best way that I can in this moment. Now, if you want to hear the story, you won't believe it because I can't even. And even after hearing the story, if you want to rock with me, cool. If not, cool. I respect it too. And that's just how it is. But in regards of embarrassment, it can't stop you and it won't stop me. I'm gonna keep moving, I'm gonna keep growing, and I'm gonna keep trying to strive to the vision of myself that I see. So that's all that I got for y'all today. I will see y'all later. I'm out of here. Peace.